have abandoned your official office. You are hardly there. I have been there twice. The office is as empty as an unblessed grave.
A purchase of 2 units of project vehicles, SUV, 160 million naira. Is this a Nigerian-made vehicle? 160 million naira. Which kind of truck is this? I mean,
so it's for Ghana.
No, don't make your notes.
Okay.
So we avoid the crossfire.
The 2024 budget of the ministry is made up of selected projects and programs designed to stimulate economic growth and national development. I'll try and show this. The mics. The projects.
Police are saying that your voice is not so audible. Can you switch to your campaign voice?
She was not.
Okay. All right. I think the microphones are not so loud.
Increase the volume on the mic. If we keep quiet, we can.
Maybe if we have some quiet, maybe you can hear me. Now you can hear me. I will use campaign voice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. My name is Dr. Doris Uzoka Nite. I am the Honorable Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment. I thank you, distinguished chairman, for honoring this gathering, for bringing us together in one single joint committee. We really appreciate and we thank you for your support. I'm delighted to be here today to present the 2024 budget by the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. I am delighted to be before you, distinguished senators and House members. The 2024 budget of the ministry is made up of selected projects and programs designed to stimulate economic growth and national development. These projects and programs are also intended to fast-track the attainment of the renewed hope agenda in the Industry, Trade and Investment Ministry. The ministry remains committed to achieving its vision of promoting economic growth, creating jobs, and generating wealth, as well as formulating and implementing policies and programs that will attract both foreign direct investment and increase the local participation by local industries, boost industrialization, increase trade and exports, and also encourage development of enterprises. Distinguished senators and honorable members, this ministry is currently implementing several strategies, policies, plans, and programs targeted at economic recovery and growth of employment and creation of wealth in Nigeria. Some of these plans, programs, and policies include the Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan, the National Enterprise Development Plan, the Trade Policy of Nigeria 2023 to 2027, and the National Investment Policy 2023 to 2027. In addition, the ministry has continued to play a vital role in facilitating the ease of doing business, which has led to a substantial increase in investment in the local economy and enhanced industrialization efforts of the government. It is pertinent to mention here that within the framework of the National Development Plan, the ministry has continued to assiduously pursue the following strategic objectives. A, creation of an enabling environment for the Nigerian industry, trade, and investment sectors to enhance ease of doing business. B, implementation of Nigeria Industrial Revolution Plan to rapidly enhance industrial capacity and improve competitiveness within the sector. C, sustained development of the micro, small, and medium industrial growth and development. D, proactive attraction of domestic and foreign investment. And E, facilitation of enhanced trade and market access to stimulate investments and encourage patronage of made in Nigeria products and services. In addition to the programs I've mentioned, We have also developed a number of new initiatives and interventions that we believe will drive the change that Nigeria needs. These include revolutionary consumer credit reforms that will address the gaps in current consumer credit ecosystem to ensure that it contributes to Nigeria's economic growth by stimulating consumption. We know how hard things have been for our people, and in more developed countries, that burden is softened because people have access to credit and can buy anything that they need. These reforms will reduce the burden on our citizens. We are also improving the present state of our commodities that are traded. We have identified the challenges and are ready to begin implementing a regulatory and operational framework that will drastically improve our commodity exchange and agri-market system, and in turn, Nigeria's global trading outlook. We realize that to truly improve global trade, we also need to improve the areas of trade facilitation and trade liberalization. Another area we're addressing is the licensing and certification of our artisans. As a nation, we have decided that we want to improve our manufacturing sector. We want to invite foreign organizations to build their factories here and to reduce our reliance on imports. But the only way we can do this is by ensuring that our local workforce is also skill-ready and ready to adapt to take up this challenge. We want to ensure that our local workforce has the capacity to take on the jobs that we are working very hard to create. We have developed a program that will address this and enable us to empower, train, certify, and track artisans, and also bring them from the informal sector into the tax net. The program will also provide opportunities for more skilled artisans to join work abroad programs in which they will gain much needed global experience. As we churn out world-class workforce, the new National Talent Export Program will ensure their readiness for service export, which will increase our foreign exchange revenues. Investment promotion is another key area of focus for us. In the past, we have seen and heard many announcements of large investments coming to Nigeria, but in the end, we don't see them materialize on ground. To this end, we are developing the Nigeria Deal Room. The Deal Room will ensure that once investments are announced, they will be supported through every stage until they are actualized and all roadblocks are removed. The Deal Room will also enable Nigeria to present a united face to foreign investors and provide a platform to ensure all investments are given the visibility that they deserve. We are initiating a rebranding campaign tagged Make It in Nigeria. This is a project that is targeted at selling Nigeria as a valuable brand and encouraging FDIs and the outsourcing of business processes to Nigeria. In addition to this, Make It in Nigeria encourages us as Nigerians to patronize local products and, most importantly, teach our youths that with the strides the government is making, they have what it takes to be successful and to make it right here in Nigeria. Also important is a project preparation facility that we've undertaken to bring projects to the feasibility stage, making it easier to sell and attract investments. Distinguished senators and honorable members, without further ado, please permit me to present to the committee the 2023 budget performance of the ministry and also the 2024 budget proposal. The amount appropriated for the main ministry in 2023 and the actual receipts for capital development, personnel, and overhead costs are hereby outlined. Summary of our budget performance as of October 2023. Budget type 1, personnel cost. Appropriation was 3,394,394,515. Releases 100%. Overhead. Appropriation was 812,525. Releases 68%. That's budget performance for that was 68%. For capital, we had appropriated 2.8 billion approximately. Total release was 311 million. Budget performance is 11%. Overview of the 2024 budget proposal. Personnel, 5.1 billion, based on staff strength as provided by IPs. Overhead, 905 million, approximately, which is slightly increased. Capital, 8.1 billion, based on ceiling. Revenue, 2.5 billion, projected. Our IGR as of October 2023 projected 108%. Our target for 2024 is 2.5 billion. This revenue was generated internally through the following departments of the ministry. 1. Weights and Measures Department. In 2023, as at October 2023, the projected revenue for the department was 950 million. So far, they've generated 81% of that, approximately 770 million. For the projection for 2024 is 1 billion. At this point, I would like to seek the assistance of the chairman to look into the retention of 20% that was initially approved by the president then for the Weights and Measures Department. But in the 2021 Finance Act, that was removed. So they do not have the ability to retain any of their IGR earnings, and this will impact our ability to provide standards and verification of meteorology for especially the non-oil and gas sector, which includes water, health, electricity, communication, and agricultural produce. We would like to seek your permission, Chairman, to please consider and help us to reinstate this particular line item. Thank you. The Commercial Law Department, which includes the trademark and patents and design, the revenue generated within the periods under review, for 2023, as at October 2023, the projection was 981 million. Generated was 77%, approximately 760 million. For 2024, our projection is 1 billion, 1.04 billion. For the Federal Produce Inspection Unit under export fumigation, 2023, as at October 2023, projection was 100 million, and they generated approximately 340 million, which represents a 333% increase over their projection. For this year, we are projecting 500 million. Other sources of revenue in the ministry include tender fees, late notification, sales of government assets, rent, backward integration certificates, application fee for certificate of acceptance, and certificate of acceptance fee. For year 2023, as of October 2023, our projection was 100 billion. So far, we've generated 233 million, representing approximately 234%. For year 2024, we are projecting 250 million revenue. Distinguished senators and honorable members, the budget for Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment in year 2023 and 2024 are summarized as follows. Amount for 2023, overhead 812 million, approximately, let me call it all out, 812,525,910 naira. For capital, it was 2,866,189,874 naira. For 2024, our overhead is projected to be 905,127,174 naira and 2 kobo. For capital, our projection is, or our request, because this is what we're requesting, is 8,339,971 naira 7 kobo. Distinguished senators and honorable members, it is important to note that the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is largely anchored by the Federal Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, and a lot is required to achieve this. And it is my prayer that you will use your good office to consider increasing this budget to support our work.
Honorable Minister, if the distinguished senators in attendance of this session and members of the House of Representatives here were not here at work, the exercise wouldn't have been holding. Honorable Minister, I am saying this with utmost concern that you have abandoned your official office. You are hardly there. I have been there twice the office is as empty as an unblessed grave. You have chosen to be operating from Bank of Industry. When you were nominated by the President to serve as a Minister of the Federal Republic, having been in Bank of Industry, if that was still and is still your choice, you should have turned down the nomination. You must always be in your office, please, for the office to be optimally, to function optimally. Having said that, in your remarks, you did talk about manufacturing. Of course, the manufacturing sector is a veritable instrument that cannot be wished away in economic development. The 2020-21 Finance Act, I am sure you are aware of the ridiculous policy that was put in place then on tariff on imported vehicles. The tariff on imported vehicles was reduced from 30% to 5%. And the cardinal reason behind putting it as high as 30% was to discourage importation and encourage local manufacturing. That falls within your ministry. I don't know what your thinking is about that, because the automobile sector, which is a major employer of labor, is struggling in Nigeria, partly because of that policy. Finally, for free trade zones are ultimately supposed to be a major source of revenue, and of course an instrument to increase manufacturing or production in Nigeria. The shenanigans that have been taking place under the free trade zones, I don't know the commitment of the ministry under your stewardship to reduce to the barest minimum, because what some of the producers do or manufacturers do, they leverage on the free trade zones, produce at the free trade zones, and then return them back to the country, part to the country, and sell at exorbitant prices to the citizens and export part of what they have. The Sugar Development Council falls under your ministry. There are a whole lot of shenanigans going on there. So I don't know how committed the ministry is under your stewardship to see to this, because all this put together, if you look at them holistically and do the needful on each of the subjects, of course, the ministry would be better off for it, and by extension, Nigeria. That's my presentation.
Reading through your presentation is very articulate. You seem to be clear about what we need to do. But listening to your explanation and some of your policies, they are completely at variance with the very beautiful presentation that you made. Building documents from you under Nigeria Trade Office Ghana. Purchase of 2 units of project vehicles, SUV, 160 million naira. Is this a Nigerian-made vehicle? 160 million naira. Which kind of truck is this? I mean,
Sir, it's for Ghana.
No, you make your notes.
Okay.
So we avoid the crossfire. I just wanted to just show that there's a huge gap between what we preach and what we do in your ministry. What is the balance of trade between Nigeria and China? What is the balance of trade between Nigeria and countries under the European Union? What is the balance of trade between Nigeria and the United Kingdom? Most of our major trading partners. And when I talk of balance of trade, delete oil. The other one is an international product. So that we can appreciate how much we have gained in terms of giving all the money we spent over the years on export promotion and all the institutions we've set up, whether they are banks, they are commission, whatever they are, so that it will give us a window whether we are not just throwing money away. We probably have far more institutions, whether financial institutions or other commissions, with the one primary objective to promote export. So by the time you give us this figure, it will give us an idea. Number two, not be found in your office and be found elsewhere. He claimed to know where you were. I don't know whether he's tracking you. But there is one major thing that I've seen in all the committees that I've attended, and this is something the Senate has to look at. Every time Nigeria has to travel, including your ministry, I use the word, and excuse me, but we need to be brutally frank, but not brutal to people, but in terms of calling a spade a spade. We always have the largest delegation of Nigerians to trade missions. Now I see in your proposal, you have trade mission in Geneva, and you are going to spend almost over 1.70 billion naira to maintain your Geneva office, which means ideally you have trade experts in that office. And when I used to go to Geneva, where Nigerian ministers go with 30-man delegation, America will use their trade officers in Geneva to attend those meetings. They are just pure technical people. In Nigeria, the minister will lead the delegation, and by the time you multiply now, I don't know what the ETA code is now, times 1,000, whatever it is, you'll find that ministers in trying to help put their people on trips, they don't attend the meetings, and they spend most of that time shopping at the expense of taxpayers. And that expense substantially, why you will find huge overhead. I'm just asking myself, you are going to spend in your ministry 900 that is headquarters alone, 905 million naira. And sometimes when you put per 202 kobo, I really don't know how these numbers are generated because nobody sees kobo anymore. It doesn't exist. And every budget they put it there as if it was meant to be a joke. Budget is meant to be an honest statement, not a formality. So you spend so much money on overhead. Number two, you are arguing the case for waivers. For me, the most corrupt tools of government is to make law for everyone, and then for those you favor, you now grant them waiver to breach that law. Government must be seen to be fair to all. If we are going to have fair competition, and we have opted for free market, why should we even have thing called waiver? I think my plea to Mr. Chairman, sir, is that going forward, the National Assembly has the right to legislate, to curtail the power of those who exercise this discretion, because they are abused. Honorable Minister, be clear, this is not about you, but there has to be a day to wake up. You know, somebody asked about Volkswagen, about Peugeot Automobile,
Why are you criticizing
about Leyland. about there was one in Bauchi where they produce tractors. Steer. It is our trade policies. This submission, recklessly in my view, to so-called WTO rules and so on, and then we expose ourselves to all kinds of goods and services coming in. Let me just give you, ask you one question. When you go to a restaurant, and as the Minister of Trade, you pick a toothpick and it's made in China, that toothpick is illegally imported and drawing the forex from our increasingly impoverished central bank? Or how does it come in? Under our laws, should toothpick not made in Nigeria be found in the Nigerian market? I'm going for this ridiculous one because each time I go out and I see toothpick, they have this small packaging, nice packaging, but it's imported. And then we talk about promoting trade. How? So there's something you need to speak to. And, okay. Time is always a problem here. Provided that next time, sir, we will not be rushed to approve money because we are in a hurry. Because those who pay taxes don't earn the money in a hurry. They sweat. We must be sure, not assuming, sir. No, excuse me. Custom officer implements trade policies. They do not formulate the tariff policies. They collect what has been imposed on them. Yeah, but you shouldn't be tired so much that not to know the difference. It's my father. It's my father. He knows we are good friends. So I just want to say, Madam, looking at this thing, we spend a lot of money on the Ministry of Trade. But maybe by the time I see the balance of trade between us and our major trading partners, I will be able to see, and I would think in future, we ought to be able to say, over the past 5 years, this is the growth we have recorded, or this is how we have stagnated, so that we have overall view, and as I said the question, should we spend money in a ministry that is not promoting local production? I want us to set up a target, sir, where we should say, for example, all the cars in Nigeria, all those tires they were using in the past, not during Mongo Park era, just in the 80s, they were in Nigeria. In the early 90s, you have Michelin, you have Dunlop, you have several of them that were producing tires in Nigeria using rubber that is made or planted in my part of the country. And all of these are gone now. Any car you see on the road, the tire is imported. What are your plans to make a review? The reason I ask you, I didn't come to the Senate to lament. And Mr. President said during our campaign, and I believe he meant it, it is can-do spirit. So we are not going to continue, as this budget suggests, with old traditions, right? So you need to tell us, what are we going to do differently to get all the tires we are using in Nigeria made in Nigeria? The policy that brought them before was by government that says, in the military, unfortunately, rather interestingly, that says, if you want to sell tires in Nigeria, locate in Nigeria. If you want to clothe 200 million Nigerians, locate the textile factories in Nigeria. If you want to, because the only thing we have to sell to the world is our population. And so if you want to patronize that huge market of 200 million people, my friend, locate in Nigeria. That was the policy. It didn't occur by accident. And once we revise the policies, now, from what you are telling me, all the Toyotas on the road, and we have perhaps per capita the highest number of Toyota vehicles in Nigeria. I'm using what? We need to have a policy that seeks to make a complete huge change. Otherwise, year in, year out, we will go through these rituals. You will complete your tenure in 4 years. Our dependence will be much more than it was before you came. That has been the lot of your predecessors, and may that not be the lot of you and of the 10th National Assembly.
Thank you very much, most distinguished. Just had everybody down there. It's still a comrade.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
So please, Honorable Minister.
I am fighting for Nigeria. You don't know the danger you face by the number of people you have rendered unemployed. And now you want money for security. You have to deal with no security response to the security challenges we are having.
Thank you very much.
It means more great job for the people.
Chairman, you are ruled out of order. Yes, next.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. Waivers, trade waivers, are they at the discretion of the minister, the presidential concession? How do they come about? That's one. Secondly, trade is created by policies. Those policies, I'm sure you know that you can send things to us, the National Assembly, to approve for you. One of the things that's critical, the auto industry. If a law or a policy is not created where the biggest buyer of auto vehicles, the government, if you do not create a policy where all government-bought vehicles must be assembled in Nigeria, regardless of who uses them, you can never generate sort of, not generate, but grow that industry. That's number one. A lot of things that we import, you can also look at how to get policies, especially, as I said, the government is one of the biggest buyers of things. A lot of the committees we came to, and I'll be really brief, will tell you, I want 2 Prado Jeeps. Why do you want 2 Prado Jeeps? And I'll say to them, why Prado? Why not Innocent or whoever and whoever? They go, well, madam, actually we don't care as long as it moves. So that you need to find a way to either send to us, speak to the president, however you're going to do it, to create an atmosphere that is mandatory on our industries growing. That's my submission.
We will come to you to sit down and brainstorm on some of the trade policies that we think will take the country forward. And we can look at them holistically so that we don't also disadvantage any sector of the economy. We'll definitely be knocking on your doors very soon, as we have a lot of ideas on what we think that we can propose to take the country forward. On ease of doing business, well, currently I'm also the vice chairman of the ease of doing business committee, and we're looking at how to reduce this cost of doing business in Nigeria. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, Honorable, there are lots of issues in the country. Insecurity, cost of power, logistics, multiple taxation, multiple roadblocks, and even the import tariffs, duties, and all of that. We, as a government, are very mindful of this and working assiduously using the ease of doing business that is being financed by the World Bank to ensure that we actually remove the bottlenecks and reduce as much as we can the cost of doing business in Nigeria. This is so important that we must do that now. Because now, if the African Continental Free Trade Agreement kicks in, and Nigeria is not a minimum cost producer, we will be disadvantaged. It means that we will continue to be import dependent. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement means that therefore there's a removal of tariff between countries in Africa to trade. And we cannot reject any import that comes into Nigeria because it is against the agreement. We will be obliged to accept whatever comes into the country as an import. Now, you can only import, so we will then be leveraging on free trade to reject some import because it's expensive. That's the law of competition, right? So if the products that are imported, even under the free trade agreement, is more expensive than the one you locally produce, consumers will naturally buy the ones that are cheaper using the law of demand and supply. This is what we will leverage on. It therefore means that for Nigeria to be competitive, we must drop our cost of doing business. We must. There is no brainer to it. So this ease of doing business thing is one thing I can assure you that I will champion with the best of my strength to ensure that we find ways of dropping the cost of manufacturing, especially in Nigeria. We must be competitive and the country must survive. We want to get to the point of being a net exporter, finished goods and manufactured goods, not a net importer of finished goods and manufactured goods. At the moment, we're exporting a lot of our raw material. The president has given a mandate that he wants to see export of value added of semi-processed or even finished goods out of Nigeria, not raw materials. For us to be able to achieve this and be competitive or achieve a comparative advantage, we must drop our cost of doing business. So I want to assure you that this is on our front burner and we'll do all we can to do it. And this is why I was asking for extra budgetary support. Unfortunately, I would like to explain to our comrade who thinks that my budget is too high. So we have 22 departments in the ministry, over 2,000 staff, and we are present in every state of the country. That overhead you're seeing is not even sufficient. In the 2023, I used my own personal money to do the travels that you've seen. Because the monies that are even provided for this investment drive by the ministry was not reflective of the inflation that we're currently seeing. Even the budget doesn't reflect the inflation that we're seeing and the inflationary pressures and the foreign exchange devaluation that we're witnessing. I can submit it over and over that fund is not sufficient to fund our activities and to do all the major work that we have to do as a ministry to turn around the economy. I would like to talk about the balance of trade. Your Excellency, when I entered the office, that was the first thing I asked for. And it is unfortunate to mention here that we do not have that record in the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. That record probably exists, but not with the ministry. It exists with the Customs and the Central Bank. If you notice, if you look in my budget line, there is a line item I provided there for trade intelligence. I propose to set up a trade intelligence unit right in my office. The purpose of the trade intelligence unit is to gather data. There is no way the Minister of Trade of any nation I know of can formulate or promulgate policies that is not based on data or that is not based on scientific evidence. We don't have that data. The data that we can even get from customs is also not accurate because we are still using manual methods of collecting data rather than automated method of collecting data. If you look at in the most industrialized countries, when goods even come in, there is very minimal manual or human intervention with their goods that come in, their cargo. From the time, from origination, when cargo leaves the point of origination to when they get into the destination port, there is automated tracking. Customs is already aware of what is coming in. When it comes in, it's scanned at the port of entry. So all of this data, the quantity you're bringing in, the item itself that you're bringing, the description, is available. It's in digital format. Now we are using AI technology to do a lot of data mining. Nigeria does not have it. I'm proposing to set up, the fund, it's not even, but we're managing the resources that we have to even situate, starting with having a database where we can even collate the data that is available and begin to analyze them and determine and even see, just based on what we even have, what is our balance of trade. The balance of trade is what fits into your balance of payment. If you're a net exporter, your foreign reserves will go up. If you're a net importer, your foreign reserves will go down. For us to survive as a country, our balance of trade and balance of payment must be positive. It must take care of our import and have enough reserve to buffer any economic shock that could happen. We don't have that, Your Excellency. But I propose to create one in my ministry, and when I come again, by the grace of God, I'm sure I will come for maybe quarterly review and all of that. We should have started something, and I'll be able to give you the data and figures then.
We're interviewing or screening the CBN management. I talk about the fact that there's no country in which government agencies, the monetary authority, the fiscal authority, and as specifically mentioned, Ministry of Trade. So, Central Bank knows how much it gives for export, and they also monitor what is imported into the country. and you have Ministry of Transportation, Customs, you are all supposed to share data. And I have heard ministers of finance and other agencies talking about balance of trade between us and these countries. To say that you are driving your car in the Ministry of Trade without dashboard, you don't even know your speed limits. Sir, this is serious.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're working on it, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The situation we are in this country, people, for example, in Nigeria now, what's our population? How many people come in every day? How many people go out? Everybody is collecting data. We have national identity, we have need, net telecommunication is collecting PV, but we don't have any serial consolidated data with data integrity that we can say this is what it is. And this is what we must solve in this country, or else we will not be able to plan and even develop. I believe that is what it is. The data are scattered, they are domiciled, everybody is doing what is doing, and people are not coordinating and pulling together to have a verified data to say this is it, which is the problem. And that's what I think that we need to try to deal with.
So with due respect, we once have a pre-shipment inspection and arrival inspection.
They are all there.
They are all there, but sir, we should. She has a duty. When I say you, I mean, don't misunderstand me. You are 5 months old in the ministry, right? But for me, it's not a reason to continue to lament. The 10th National Assembly and this President Tinubu did not come in to lament. We must now take bold measures to put a halt. How can we be? We are paying people. Look, nobody enter Nigeria through air without immigration. Nobody go through road. At least those who are not Bangladesh, the former borders. We have data. It is better to have inaccurate data than to say you have no data at all.
Sir,
how do we measure whether we are progressing or we are regressing?
But they are not coordinated properly, maybe deliberate, in my own opinion. I think some people don't want that.
Would I like to hear her thoughts on that?
It doesn't.
Already, I answered. That's what I answered.
She's going to have her own intelligence unit. That means more overhead, more personnel, chairman of the unit, PAMSEC of the unit, assistant director of the unit. Why? When we have this number in the CPN, the Ministry of Finance, and yes, Ministry of Finance, Budget Office, you should have them. We don't have to reinvent the wheel in every unit. That's why we have overbloated federal bureaucracy and we are spending 60% on our recurrent. No, this is not sustainable. That's not the way to go. With due respect.
Thank you very much, sir. But I still repeat that as much as those data are scattered everywhere, it will take deliberate effort, deliberate platform, deliberate system to have a data that you can confidently say, this is it that I'm going to work out. And that will still cost money.
I stand on existing protocols. Questions will follow. But it seems everybody seems to be driving at the same point, whether it's waivers, whether it is ease of doing business and what have you. And which brings us down to the point that you made about the Finance Act that has to do with weights and measures. It's a bill that's currently going through the House of Reps, soon to be in the Senate, and hopefully to the President for assent. So this is something you can track as well. We'll work together. However, there's something also equally important in the Finance Act that I feel is a cancer, but I would like to hear your suggestions. It is shackling the FCCPC from venturing into mergers or activities of banks. I think the general theme, without being mentioned here, is the only thing more dangerous than public monopoly is private monopoly. So that is something that we should also look at and see how we can reverse that trend. It seems that there's a lot of attention that is being paid on ease of bringing in exports. I think we need to look for innovative ways that we can also, our exporters from within our country can take things out. And not everybody can be present in a trade-free zone, but I think it's time we need to think out of the box. If you have plans for specific, you can call them export warehouses or whatever the case may be, where our manufacturers and people that are, farmers, etc., proper packaging, take it to these warehouses. They have these export warehouses should have two functions. The first one is to ensure that the quality according to world standards are being met, so that people can reduce wastage and loss from after sending our products out to be rejected, whether it be it cocoa, whether it be it whatever have you. So this is one. But the second most important thing is the automation aspect of it, so that we can reduce the barriers and cost. It should be a station whereby SON, customs, NAFDAC, whatever have you, can be able to pass them, have a barcode. Once they get to the port, scan, let them go out, so that all our perishable products don't get exhausted in our ports, and it's also a loss. So what I'm saying is this will capture more people, surprisingly all the way down to the informal sector that we want to capture. And most important of all, we've heard beautiful speeches, beautiful etc., but I think implementation is what matters. What we have here are documents, but how do we execute what we find here? I am worried, and I would like to know, what are you doing with the variance of information that comes firstly from within the ministry and her agencies? Just for example, CAC, NIPC makes an announcement, then somebody else makes a different announcement that contradicts what one agency is saying. Should there be a funnel, an hourglass system, that there just has to be a clearinghouse before announcements are made, so that they're not made and being retracted and it shakes the market. Once you say charity begins at home, that is cleared. The same thing also, CBN, whatever have you, cannot just wake up and make a particular policy without consulting your ministry in this, and how does it affect investors or people that are in the commerce sector or in the trade sector or what have you. So what mechanism is being put in place to ensure that Nigeria or the government speaks with one clear voice and is consistent when it comes to policies? Thank you.
I want to thank everyone that has made comments today in this committee. We appreciate your advice, we appreciate your guidance, and most especially your support to making sure that this ministry takes the central role that it should take and does what it should do. I want to assure you again that we will do all we can to ensure that you see implementation. We are execution ready, and we will do all it takes to give you results that you can see, visible results. God willing, we can do, whatever we can do, we will do. The problem we face in the country is beyond the ministry. It's multifaceted. In terms of coordinating with other agencies, we do that actively, and we're engaging as much as we can. For instance, tomorrow we're inviting you to come to the National Trade Dialogue that we are hosting. On Thursday. It's an interministerial, interagency dialogue where we all come together to discuss issues that border on trade and how to resolve those issues. It's something that we're starting, and we think that we will have this frequently to be able to have that common ground where we can come up with ideas and issues or solutions to the issues that we have and resolving them quickly. So I invite you, that's on Thursday at, we have the details, we'll send the details across to the chairman. Thank you, and I want to assure you that I will definitely leverage the support you've given me and this open platform to come to you for more advice and more initiatives that can move this country forward. Thank you very much.
Citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.